the cost of hunger in Africa studies is something that another tool, if you like, that we adapted from Latin America. There is each of the continents has, the UN has an economic commission for each of the continents. So there is an economic commission for Latin America and the Caribbean called ECLAC. So ECLAC first developed the cost of hunger studies, and we modified it because we did not, the same things, we didn't have the same data sets, Sometimes even when you're looking at the age of children in school, you have to have a proxy because not all children have birth certificates, etc. So the cost of hunger studies is an ongoing study that we have been doing in different African countries. And it revealed to us a lot of problems. Last week, we just launched the study in Chad. Next week, we are launching the study in Ghana. The first 4 studies were done in Ethiopia, Egypt, Uganda, and Swaziland. And that is what I refer to. The cost of hunger studies showed us that the total cost of hunger varied. In a country like Egypt, which has a large GDP, the cost of hunger was estimated as 1.9% of the GDP. In Ethiopia, it was 16.5% of the GDP. How do we measure it? We look at a number of different things, We look, because most of the time, cost of hunger manifests itself in stunting and malnutrition. Usually, this is seen as a problem for nutritionists, for agriculturalists, but what we did, and we took it to the Conference of Ministers of Finance and Planning in Abuja in March this year, that these are issues that finance ministers should be concerned with. If you are losing up to 16.5% of your GDP from this, it doesn't matter how much aid you get, you are not going to solve your problems. And the problem was, one of the experts asked us at the meeting, is it reversible? No. If your brain does not develop when it should, it doesn't matter how much milk and meat you eat later on in life, you will not get it back, okay? So it manifests in, first of all, just, what stunting is, when children's hair usually turns red, when they are the height for weight measures and things don't add up. And we found that children who are malnourished, who are stunted, they get more incidents of illnesses. All children get ill, but those children get ill more often. When they go to school, they don't perform well. They are more likely to drop out, to repeat in school, etc. So by the time they are entering the job market, they are not even well prepared. And we found out that up to 40% of the adult population in some of our study countries were stunted as children. So you can imagine the productivity losses. And we've tried to make it an issue of concern for all ministries, not just for the Ministry of Agriculture or of Health. So this led us to begin to think about exclusion, that if children are malnourished, in effect, they are being excluded from growth. And it is this that led us to develop this Africa Social Development Index, which measures exclusion through the life cycle. In fact, there is a session coming up soon, where we will present the African Social Development Index, okay? And we look at it, as we said, because what happens from conception to the first 1,000 days of life is really crucial for all our development. So we are looking at it in the very first stages, and we are saying that the first exclusion that anybody faces is the chance of even being born. You can be pregnant, but you will not be born because the survival rate is low. Even when you are born, the first 2 years of your life can be very critical, and that is where the issue of malnutrition and other things come in. Then in the early formative years, the exclusion is built around education. What kind of education? Are you able to go to school at all? We are not even looking, and we can factor in other things like the quality of education, etc. So if you don't get a good start in life, and that is why many people have been advocating early childhood education, if you don't get a good start in life, then your educational outcome is not likely to be very good, okay? After that, then we have the youth years. After the first primary school, nursery, primary school, etc. Then it is your early formative years, okay, about education. Then after that, you are supposed to enter into the job market. Are you able to enter into the job market? This is the largest problem facing almost all African countries today, the youth unemployment issue. Sometimes you can go through school, but you live with no education and no skills, which means that your chances of really entering the job market and earning a good income is really limited. And we know that, apart from what it means for the individual and their families, etc., it is also, we cannot divorce issues of terrorism, issues of insecurity from a large frustrated youth population which cannot find things. We mentioned Tunisia a lot, where the Arab Spring started. But now the evidence is that there are lots of young people who have left Tunisia and have joined IS. Okay. Similarly, with Boko Haram, you know that there is a lot of frustrated youth who join, and we can multiply all of these things. So this is a real challenge. You can't deal with peace and security without really dealing with the problems of young people, solving all of those kinds of things. Okay.